Sandra, your tutor, and this is going to be the first SPSS video out of the series that I told y'all I would make for you. So this is the first explanatory video that is going to be going over descriptive statistics. So I'm going to show you with SPSS how to do the variety of descriptive stats that I also mentioned and taught y'all in the lesson. So let's get started with the first thing. So whenever we're talking about qualitative variables analysis, usually we can run some sort of frequency table or select any sort of frequency chart that we want and run those as well. So this is the first thing that I'm going to show y'all in SPSS. So how to make a frequency table and then also frequency charts if you would like to do so. So here are the instructions in case you need a reminder of just like the order of the words, but I'm going to do it as well in SPSS, so don't worry about that. All right, so when we make a frequency table first, we need to go to SPSS, and here again I have the Workers 200 dataset, like as always, but you can find this one in your week 2 tutorial, and it's the same one that I was using during the entire lesson. So yeah, you have this always. So with this Workers 200 data set, we're going to follow the exact instructions that I said here. So we're going to go to Analyze, which is up here. Then we go to Descriptive Statistics, because that's what we're going to be doing. And then we're going to go to Frequencies. So we can pick any frequency or anything that we want. So for now, let's just pick maybe type of firm and drag that to our variables list. So right now we've picked our variable, and so now we can make our frequency table. But a quick note on this is clicking on statistics and then also on charts. So if you would like to have the quartiles of this variable, or like to have, a lot of these other central tendencies, so maybe you want the mean, maybe you want the median and the mode, and maybe you want also descriptions of skewness and kurtosis. Yeah, there's a lot of options that you can pick just from the statistics section in the frequencies. And then also under charts, you can pick whether you want a bar chart, a pie chart, or a histogram. You can basically ask for anything you would like. So in this case, maybe let's just pick bar chart. You can also pick pie chart, but you would have to run it another time. And the chart values could be either frequencies or in percentages. So I'm going to keep it as frequencies. So then we click continue. Format is not really necessary to click on, neither is style or bootstrap. So we want this to be checked as well, display frequency tables, and that's basically it. So then you click OK, and this should be your output. So here you have your basically all the things that we checked off that we wanted for information. So we have the mean, the median, the mode, skewness, kurtosis, percentiles. So here it tells us our 25th, 50th, and 75th. So they already did all the work for you for finding Q1, Q2, and Q3. And then here is our frequency table. So the type of firm, how frequently it came up, the percentage out of 100, and then the cumulative percent. So this is basically the frequencies for our variable, which is firm type. And then the last thing that we have is just our bar chart. So here we have basically purely domestic, Dutch, foreign, and partial foreign. So here it shows the frequencies of each of those. And then obviously the type of firm is on the x-axis. So that's a way that you can get both the frequency table and then also an example of one of the frequency charts. So in this case, the bar chart. And again, like I said, you can click on pie chart for the next time. So if we wanted to run this whole thing again, we would go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Frequencies, click on Frequencies, and we already have the variable in here, so that's nice. Then we go to Charts again, and maybe this time we want a pie chart. So now we can click on pie chart and click Continue, and then click OK. And in our output now, wow, it's really pretty actually. In our output now, we have a pie chart. So as you can see, over 50% is purely domestic firms, as we also saw in this bar chart. So the information is all the same. All of the descriptives that we wanted are the exact same. The frequency table is the exact same, except this time we just have a pie chart instead of a bar chart. So this is how you would run a typical frequency table slash qualitative frequency chart in SPSS. And so now that we've basically gone through qualitative variables, let's also go through quantitative variables. So in a histogram, this is whenever you would usually go with a quantitative variable when making a histogram, because on the x-axis you'll have your values that are actually numerical. So it's not going to be like this where we have labels, because if we're going with a quantitative variable, they're going to have numbers down here. So we're going to do the same thing in SPSS, but for quantitative variables. And one of the ways we can do that is via a histogram. So again, here are the instructions on how to run this in SPSS, just for reference. And these are the main things that the histogram shows, like we talked about in the lesson. So let's say, for example, we want to make a histogram of a variable, a quantitative variable. So like it says here in the instructions, we go to Analyze, we go to Descriptive Statistics, and then in this case we go to Explore. And the reason why we go to Explore is here now we can pick our variable. So let's say that we want to look at wage in this case. And so now we have wage in our dependent list, aka it's just going to be on the, it's going to be the only variable in our histogram. And then we can go to statistics, and again we can click percentiles if we want to see percentiles. We can see the descriptives. We can also ask for plots. So here, this is where you check histogram, where you want to see a histogram. We don't really need stem and leaf. It's not really relevant, so we only check histogram. And then if you want box plots, this is already a place that you can do box plots. So you can also make sure that this is checked as well, factor levels together, box plots. And then you already get a histogram and a box plot via the Explore function in SPSS. So we can click Continue again. Option and bootstraps aren't really necessary. And then we want to make sure that it's displaying both. So if you just wanted the statistics or just wanted the descriptives about, skewness, kurtosis, the mean, you would just click this one. Or if you just wanted the histogram and the box plot, you would click just plots. But in this case, we want both, so then we click OK, and this is what the output gives us. So this is our output. Here are the descriptives again for our variable, which is talking about wage. So here we have the mean, the median, variance, like we have everything that we need right here. Same with interquartile range, super nice that it gives it to us, and then also percentiles. So here it gives you 25th, 50th, 75th in both normal version, I guess, and then also Tukey's hinges. So whichever way they would ask you maybe to calculate it, you could do it both ways. Most of the time, it's just going to be with the normal one, so just with this one. So it gives us percentiles, which we asked for, which is super nice. And then here is our histogram. So here it says mean, standard deviation, and then how many participants. You can see that it has all of the information. So the frequencies are on the y-axis and the wage is on the x-axis. So we can see that here. And then also we can see our box plot. So the blue is the interquartile range. This whole blue box is the interquartile range. All of these numbers are outliers, so they represent the case number. So that means that participant number 32 is an outlier and their wage is probably around like 85. So that's how you can look at this box plot as well. But yeah, like it gives you everything you need whenever you run this explore function in SPSS. And you could just use this as your method for finding your upper fence, your lower fence, because it gives you all the percentiles and it gives you the interquartile range. So it gives you everything you need in order to calculate whatever information the exam might ask you to do. So this is, again, the explore function in SPSS that will give you your percentiles, your descriptive statistics, and then also your box plot if you want. So again, super, super helpful for doing in the exam as well. So we have our histogram, and then again, a note on box plots. So there are a few options, like we just saw. One of the options to get a box plot in SPSS is by doing the exact same thing that we just did. So we went to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Explore, and then we selected the variable that we wanted the box plot for, which is exactly what we did right here. We got the box plot and the histogram. We got everything we wanted in one place. However, if maybe they ask you a question where you have to compare two different firm types to something else, In that case, you can't do that in the explore function. You have to go specifically into the graphs function of SPSS. So if you just want the box plot, or you need to make a more specialized box plot, you need to go into graphs and then chart builder. So here are the options to make any sort of chart that we would normally be able to do with the descriptives, analyze descriptive statistics tab, except this will only give you the graph. So you could make a bar chart from this. You could also make line. You could make a scatter plot, which we'll do in the next video. You can also make a pie chart. You can make a histogram in here as well. Like you can do a lot of, there's basically all the visual options are in here. But in this case, we're going to do box plot. So we just click on this one, the very first one, the simple box plot. And then we have to choose our X and Y axis. So what if it's asking us to compare maybe the type of firm? So it's asking us to put the type of firm, and they want us to compare these different types of firms. And then maybe we should compare it with wage. So we're trying to see the differences in the types of firms and how they are different in terms of wage. So once you have your X and Y axes chosen for your box plot, then all you need to do is click OK, and it will run it for you. So here are your box plots for domestic, Dutch, foreign, and partial. So here is the information. Type of firm is on the x-axis, and the currency or the thing that we're comparing it against is on the y-axis. And just a little note is whenever you're making these box plots, you cannot pick a quantitative variable to go on the x-axis, because then that would just be way too many box plots. It's going to be easiest to pick something that has categories. So for example, like this one, it has just domestic, Dutch, foreign, partial. Maybe whether the firm is international or not, it would say yes or no, like we saw in our lesson. So yeah, usually it's better to put the quantitative on the y-axis and the qualitative on the x-axis, just so that it's a bit easier to read. But now from here, we can compare these box plots if we wanted to. If there was a question about maybe is one more skewed than the other, does one have larger interquartile ranges than the other one, we can take a look at these box plots that are directly next to each other and basically make some sort of conclusion about it. So this is how we could use the graphs and chart builder function of SPSS to just make the box plot, or make a more specialized box plot where we have to compare more than one group to each other. So that's an example of how we can do that with just the simple graphs function in SPSS. So that's what we would do here. And again, in SPSS, you can find quartiles by either doing explore in descriptive statistics or frequencies in descriptive statistics, like we saw in our examples. Both of the quartiles are an option that you can check in either the explore function of SPSS or in the frequencies function. And if you need to check that out again and how we check those quartiles, that's just a little bit earlier in this video whenever we were talking about frequency tables and then also making the histogram. So if you go back to those parts in the video, you can see where I check off quartiles or percentiles whenever we are running the SPSS data. So those are box plots. And the last thing in terms of descriptive statistics is z-scores. So trying to find if there are any outliers based on what their z-score is. And so as we knew from the lesson, any z-score that has an absolute value greater than 2.5 is a potential outlier. So how do we actually get this z-score in SPSS? You have the instructions right here, and then we're also going to do it right now. So we go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and then we are going to go to Descriptives. And whenever we click on Descriptives, we have all the variable options again. So maybe let's just pick wage this time, just to stay consistent. And you don't need to mess around with options or anything like that. I mean, you could if you wanted. Like you could pick, again, the descriptives for kurtosis, skewness, things like that. But that's basically all you can do with this function in SPSS. And then where we're going to get our z-scores from is by checking this box right here, Save Standardized Values as Variables. So when you check this box and click OK, It's not really going to say much except for give you this like basic descriptive statistics table, but the actual place where you're going to find these z-scores is in your data set. So make sure that you're in data view and you go all the way to the right of all your data. And as you can see here, you have a new variable called z of wage. So every single score in here is the z-score of that participant number. So for example, if we wanted to see the z-score of, let's say, participant 23, we would go all the way down to 23, and as we can see here, the z-score of that participant is negative 0.15661. So that means that this participant's score lies negative 0.15661 standard deviations below the mean or below the average wage. So that's a way that we can use z-scores to actually help us identify outliers. So if there was a value in here, as we can see here, participant number 32 has a z-score of positive 6.72. So that's a very, very extreme score because it's definitely bigger than 2.5. So in this case, we can say that, okay, participant 32, it looks extremely positive. It looks like an extremely positive outlier. So this is how we would do the same thing for z-scores. And if they asked you to look at a z-score of a particular participant, all you need to do is just follow those instructions that we just did, and you will get all of these z-scores for all of the participants in this last column in your data set under data view. So that is for z-scores. But yeah, that is the last descriptive statistic that I'm going to cover in this video. Next video, I'm going to talk about linear relations in SPSS, and then obviously the other SPSS functions I will also cover in other videos. But that is going to be it for not today's video, for the video right now. And yeah, stay tuned for other SPSS videos. But for now, I hope this one was really helpful for y'all. And again, thank you so much for watching. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.